Hello and welcome out to the Dice Tower. I'm Wendy Yi.
And I'm Chris Yi.
And today we're going to be sharing our top 10 co-op games.
This is a list that some of the other guys have done, and you know what? We want to have a crack at it and show the right games. Actually,
That's right.
I don't know about you, but as I was like, this would be an easy topic to do, and this wasn't an easy topic to do.
It was hard to narrow it down. There's so many out there, and there's so many good ones out there.
So many good ones. There's so many ones that have a lot of nostalgic value for me. And I found with this list, I was kind of surprised that I went with less nostalgia than I expected.
Okay.
I actually went with very little nostalgia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know about you, right? But for me, like, cooperative
look.
games have kind of, I think a lot of cooperative games have kind of just gone different and cool different directions. And I still have a lot of love, like, for some of the early ones that we got into and played a lot of. But on this list, I just kind of found myself gravitating towards different.
It's interesting because there are a lot of original games we played first getting into the hobby that aren't on this list, but I do have some older ones that I still love. So, yeah, should we get started?
All right, so let's go ahead and do that. We're going to We're going to start over here with me. My number 10 is one that was introduced to us by Z, I believe.
Okay.
I think we did on a live play that a Ketchupalooza. It's called Shipwreck Arcana. This is there's a small box, and it's like tarot cards and stuff that are out there, and then everyone has a secret number, like these tokens over here that are the different numbers, and everyone has one. Basically, you're trying to get the other people to guess your numbers that you have as these tokens secretly, and you're using these cards out there in the middle as clues, giving information, saying, okay, I'm going to put a number token out here. They're like 1 through 7. I'm going to put a 6 out here. What is that communicating to the other people at the table? And they're having to use deduction to say, like, okay, so clearly it can't be a 6, but also if it was something else, he would have communicated by probably having put a different token on this other card. So it's a lot of that, like, you say one thing that explicitly means one thing, but also implicitly means a lot of other things. And players are just stressing to try to understand exactly what that means.
Oh, yeah. I remember this being a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. Like, it surprised me. I was like, this should be pretty easy. No, it wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a gorgeous game, too. It has a theme. It's barely there, but like as a number puzzle, woo!
Okay, what is the theme?
You're shipwrecked, and arcane things are happening.
Okay, arcane words, the mystical. Ooh.
Yeah. Ooh, 3! Anyway, I don't know, it has a theme. But it's basically just a gorgeous backdrop for a great number puzzle.
And I do think the art is really cool in that.
Yeah. You know what it is? It kind of reminds me of like a cooperative, now that I think about it, Turing machine.
Okay, because it's all deduction?
It's all mathematical deduction and stuff, but like the players are doing it for everybody else, and everyone is taking turns putting out the evidence for their thing, and then you're also guessing on other people. So yeah, so it's like that for me. I think that's why it speaks to me so much.
Okay.
Yeah, and I kept also thinking like Turing machine's one of my favorite cooperative. It's not. It is not a cooperative. I guess there's a variant, but I'm not gonna.
But I would rather play Turing Machine cooperative, I think, than competitively.
Right, but then you're just like solving anyway, yeah. That being said, this really is a very cooperative
This is
game.
hidden information. Turing Machine would not.
Yeah,
that's fair. This is one of those cooperatives where everyone has to hold their own. Otherwise, the game falls apart.
That's true. Yeah. So that's why my number 10, Shipwreck Arcana.
Okay, my number 10 is Aeon's End, and I'm going to specifically say the original, the OG Legacy version, because that's what I was introduced to when I first started playing Aeon's End. So this
that's right.
Yeah, you had played it before me, the base, or whatever, some other version.
Just the original base game.
Just an original base game. And you're like, it's kind of a lot, and so the Legacy game pulls back a little bit and introduces how to use your character and all your special abilities a little bit over time. And it lets you kind of create your own character. So you choose what benefits you want to have added to that character and what special upgrades and those kind of things. So that was really fun. I think it was a very good introduction to Aeon's End. And so I picked this one just because I really enjoy deck builders, and then I really enjoyed this particular Legacy. It had not too much story. It had some fun bosses. All the bosses felt differently. And one thing cooperatively about Aeon's End is that everybody has breaches in front of them, and that's how you attack. So you on a previous turn, you lay out cards into your breeches, and then at the very beginning of your following turn, you can shoot them off and fire them off. And I've noticed in this game that there tends to be bad guys that come out that you have to fight with your breeches, and you have to do these attacks. But also there's events and stuff that you have to pay your resources, your gems, I think they are.
Your Shipwreck Arcana.
I'm pretty sure they're gems of some sort. Your money, but you have to like basically pay for those things to stop happening. So you need people to specialize. And so if everybody's super strong at fighting and then all of a sudden no one has money and they can't pay for this 10 cost thing, it just sits out and then bad stuff happens. And so I like that cooperatively you have to have a little bit of specialization.
Yeah, this was a really good legacy. And this answers I was like, I wonder if Wendy's going to include legacy games on her list. The answer is yes, folks.
The answer is most definitely.
Yeah, this is a picture actually of just basic Aeon's End. As to not spoil things, but there's not really spoil. Your mage upgrades. Woo! If you have not played this series, Aeon's End Legacy is the way to jump in.
It really is. It really is. I'm a big fan.
All right. There you go. Good number 10. My number 9, when I think about it, it actually shares some similarities to Shipwreck Arcana. And this is also the newest game on my list. I'm really surprised that it's on here. It's Sky Team.
You know, I thought about putting this on my list. I really did.
And I fought with that. Like, it might just be really cold to the new, but this game feels different. Cooperative dice placement, limited communication, and you're putting dice out there, different numbers, into these different action spots that basically signify, keeping the plane balanced and moving it forward and getting all the landing gears and stuff ready. But there's a lot of this, like, understood communication between the two players, the pilot and the co-pilot. As you put dice out, you're like, that communicates something to me. Obviously, I want to try to match you to keep the plane from like tilting and barrel rolling out of control. But also you went there first, and therefore I can infer that maybe you want some information on what my dice are like, because you roll them behind screens and you can't see each other's. It's really good. I tend to like this, like clean systems of limited communication. And that's not the last time that you're going to see it on my list, actually. This one we reviewed recently. Go watch that review if you're not familiar with this one.
It's so interesting. So this is another one of those games where you have to hold your own. And I've had a rather deep conversation with a friend about how some people like co-op games, like just generally across the board. And then some people like co-op games where you can't have an alpha player. If everybody has to hold their own, then you can't have someone that dictates to everybody else what their turn should be. And this is one of those games that you can't. Same thing with Shipwreck Arcana. Like you can't say, hey, you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this. You're like, no, we're working at the same time and we can't talk. We have to figure this out together. And so I was like, okay, I can see that. So if you're someone that doesn't like the alpha player, like this makes sense.
Yeah, this one really works for that. So yeah, I felt weird putting something so new.
I think it's okay.
But I've tackled this game even more. And I still keep enjoying it. So anyway, that's my number 9, Sky Team.
Nice. All right, my number 9 is Elder Sign, and I specifically love the app. Now, we've played it plenty of times in person with the cards, and I don't know, there's something that's just special about playing it on a tablet cooperatively with someone else.
You even put a picture.
I put the app picture on because it's really hard to find a high-res picture of the app. It was so weird, but
you can just open it and take a screenshot.
That's fair. I don't have my tablet on me. But yeah, I really enjoy. I think because the app does all the like quick, hey, stuff flips out. This is where the monsters go. All of this, like it speeds it up for you. But I do like it both ways. I just prefer it as the app. But Elder Sign, it's just a fun cooperative game. It's one of those that just has really good theme. The pictures are beautiful. The monsters are terrifying. It's wonderful. And you're going around this museum and you're trying to solve all these little problems to get enough Elder Sign so that the big, deep, terrible one doesn't come out.
So that Ben Stiller can finally go home to his kid and know he's not a deadbeat dad.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I really enjoy this, and as a cooperative game, it's one of those that you can go to the same areas, and you can't help each other much, but there's a little way to like lock an extra die if someone's, in your same space. So there's a few little benefits of being in the same space of each other, but what I really like in general is that I could have a terrible roll. I could just do terribly at a particular thing, and then you could come in and you could be like, hey, let me help you. I'll do a little bit better. And so I'm terrible at rolling dice. I tend to roll really poorly, but sometimes I will be the one to save the day. So it's exciting.
Right. No, and I agree. This is such a good app. We've spent many an hour just playing this on our couch.
We have. And other people's couches during maybe Super Bowls and stuff.
That's true. That's for you, my brother, Frank.
That's my number 9, Elder Sign.
All right, number 8 is a game that surprised me very much when I played it and really enjoyed it. It's a huge, big old game, which is not usually my jam, and it's called Deep Rock Galactic.
Oh, I haven't played this one.
Rock and stone, brother!
I have nothing to say about this. I know nothing. All right, tell me about it.
Okay. Rock and stone, brother!
Okay, I got it. This is the game.
So it's based off a video game, and apparently it's a very good implementation of the ideas of the video game.
That is something that I did hear about this, was that a surprisingly... I really don't like video game implementations of games typically, but yeah, people said this was good.
It's because a lot of them are bad. And this one's great. And the fact that it was a video game implementation is almost what kind of scared me off in this huge cubic box. But the designer, Oleg Steiner, I believe, Steinus, he's the designer of Champions of Midgard.
Oh, okay.
And so I was like, oh, okay, like this guy has made good games before. And for some reason, just like that was enough to entice me. You go around on this underneath the belly of an asteroid, basically. And you're digging, and you're mining through, and you're trying to do whatever the mission goal is. Collect these types of gems, kill these things, or collect a lot of things. And then after you dig through, you have to get out. You have to get out of Dodge, right?
Okay.
So as you're digging through and discovering stuff and getting the gems and squishing the monsters, you're also kind of making different pathways for you to go back. So the ending exciting sequence of like escaping, you kind of get to benefit from the paths that you've carved over. So if you have someone kind of go out of their way and create these shortcuts, they really come in handy later. So I feel like it's very cooperative. You have each other's sixes. You have each other's backs. A big monster comes out, which is a huge miniature figure. Doesn't always impress me, right? Big minis and stuff.
Yeah.
But they have these like directional benefits. So he's chasing someone over here, but his weak spot's on his back. And so other players are coming through using one player as bait. You're like, Wendy, you keep running that way. We'll just shoot him from behind. There's a lot of cool cooperation in this game. I like it a lot.
Okay, so you need to escape out. I instantly thought of like Clank and Subterra. Is this kind of a mashup between the two?
Yeah, it's a little bit of that going on.
Okay, that's cool.
But yeah, fun dice chucker. The dice almost always have hits on them, and sometimes they have like cooler hits on them. That's a thing I like a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is really impressive. We should try it.
Nice. All right, my number 8 is another new game. So I also was debating whether I should put a like new game on my list. So I guess we're not doing all of our sentimental stuff. We're doing new stuff. So number 8 is Freelancers. Now this is a Crossroads Systems game by Plaid Hat, and it's app-based. And in the app, you have all of this story with all this great voice acting that's going on. And so you and the people at the table with you are working together. You all have like really weird jobs because I guess the world has ended, and you're just kind of like the animal creatures that are left over that have turned into sentient. There you go. Sentient beings. And you have dumb jobs like you're a divorcee or you're a dung digger or something, There's just like weird things that you are.
That dung has to get dug.
It's gotta get dug, man. So you're basically terrible at life. You're terrible at what you're doing, but someone comes in and is like, hey, ragtag group of losers, come on with me on a journey and we'll go do this quest, So it's just got really, really good voice acting. The story's well written. It's very entertaining. And I think that if I were to just play this game by myself, it could be fun. But I really like it as a cooperative game because sharing those moments with someone else, sharing those story moments is really exciting and it's really fun.
This is one I haven't played, but I watched you all play it.
Yeah.
And I was like,
that looks fun.
Oh, that looks so fun. I feel like I've played it, but I haven't. You know what I mean? And so, this is...
And you make decisions together, and some decisions you make on your own, and, you're working together to fight a big boss sometimes and stuff. So there's cooperation, but a lot of it is just, like, enjoying that story together as a group. Yeah.
We reviewed this one. In the review, I'm sure you compared it to Forgotten Waters. It looks cleaner, looks a little more stripped away, and then the focus is more just kind of on the shared experience rather than, like, 5 different dials and knobs and all, that type of stuff. So.
Well, yeah. One thing that I feel like it's different is that you spend less time doing the worker placement stuff. And so I felt less like there was competition. Because the other one was like, we're all working together, but also I keep getting stuck doing the crappy job, doing the not fun part. And so this one, there's not as much of that.
Forgotten Waters is this close to making my list. Super close.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So my number 7 is one that it's just so charming. It's Micro Macro Crime City.
Oh, yeah.
It's such a great little family game that we play a lot with our daughter, where you are trying to investigate a mystery. Oh, there's crimes happening in Crime City. That's why it was called Crime City. Or they're crimes because it was called Crime City. We'll never know.
Makes me think of Where's Waldo.
It's Where's Waldo.
I always wanted a Where's Waldo book, and my best friend had one, and she had Waldo circled on every single page. I didn't get to do Where's Waldo.
Your friend's a moron. Wow. Wow.
Yep.
If I could go back in time and change one thing in history, it'd be more significant than that. But your friend still, that's a bad idea.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, so it's like Where's Waldo, and you're trying to solve crimes. This is one that I feel like I talk about a lot, because I really love this game.
Good.
And how you can follow the same person over different instances of time across the map. There's a 4th one of these coming out, and we finished the first one, and we've done a decent amount of the second, and we still haven't even had the 3rd one come in, so good night. Like, there's so much of this going on.
There's so much.
Huge fold-out maps, fun adventures, some stuff that like maybe is not great for kids, but also they're labeled, so we haven't done those ones with our daughter. But yeah, Micro Macro, so much fun. Can you lose it? Not really. Is it a game? On the technicality of anything that you do for pleasure, for fun, to just for the sake of doing that thing and sharing that experience together, that's a game to me.
It fits in a game box on a game shelf. It's a game.
There you go.
That's my definition. All right, my number 7 is also an experience. So this is the Unlock series of games. I've played one of the Exit games, and I feel like they're all they fit in the same boat of stuff. But I just really enjoy escape rooms. I enjoy the puzzles. I'm also not great at them, so I enjoy doing them cooperatively because I need the help of everybody else. I get stuck really easily.
Oh, competitive escape room would be terrible.
Oh my goodness. Oh, isn't that what Legends of the Hidden Temple was back in our childhood on Nickelodeon? Do you remember that?
Olmec. Of course I remember Olmec. He was my homie.
That was basically a mini escape room.
I guess,
minus
yeah.
the puzzles.
A little competition of sorts.
Yeah, a little competition thing. Anyways, I really enjoy these, and I enjoy working together because you can give everybody different sets of cards to work on. Or like, oh, I think this tool goes together. I'm going to try to figure out what this picture of this book means. And so you could do stuff separately, but then you all come back together to work on it, to figure it out. It's good puzzles. It's a lot of fun. I recommend this at like 3 or 4 players.
This is really good. I love the Unlock Kids. That's actually my favorite, probably because I'm not that smart, and I always need help with clues with these ones. I think that's the reason I prefer the Micro Macro series to like the escape room ones is I never feel stupid during a Micro Macro case.
I've definitely had 1 or 2 of these that I was like, I'm just stuck. I'm super stuck and I'm going to start turning over cards because the hints aren't working well enough. But overall, I do really enjoy them. I tend to like the ones that are a little bit more fantastical. So they're either like darker, grimmer, or they're squeak and sausagey. They're kind of silly stuff. So that's fun. It's fun. So Unlock, that's my number 7.
All right, so going to number 6, this is the opposite of silly and fantastical. Train logistics, baby. This game is called Switch and Signal. This is the game that it's a cooperative train game. On the back of the box it says train game 5 out of 5, cooperative 5 out of 5. And you know what? They didn't lie about that.
Okay.
There's 3 actions that you're doing in this game. The trains are just kind of moving, whether you want them to or not, at the end of your turns, at the end of each of your turns. And so you have you have several cards in hand that only have 3 things. You can move switches so that when a train is moving here, it can either go left or right. You can turn on signals. So basically, half the tracks on the board are off, and the other half can be on. And so if you play a signal card, you have to turn off one track to turn on another one so that trains don't crash, because that's bad. And the last type of card is make a train go early.
Yeah.
And then at the end of your turn, all the trains on the board just kind of go, and you're trying to get them to pick up goods in one city and then deliver them to another city, or on the back side of the board you have multiple pickups and multiple like delivery cities and stuff. This is a great, unique kind of experience because I don't know too many like logistical games like this that are cooperative.
It is really fascinating because it's such a puzzle. You can change anything on the board, but you only have specific cards in your hand. And even though there's only 3 types of cards, I may have a lot more signals and you may have a lot more switches. And so we have to figure out how we're going to do this in the right order so that our trains don't collide and we lose the game.
Yeah.
Do you lose cards? I don't remember what you lose. Oh, there's little time tokens.
There's time tokens.
Time tokens, that's what it is. You lose if you mess up.
Trains go in 7 speed and all of a sudden hits a track that's stopped. You're like, woof, that's going to be really bad. That's going to eat up all of our time and stuff. Super good game. This is one of the games that really sold me on David Thompson as a designer, and he has since gone on to become one of my favorite designers. This isn't even that long ago, but like, just I'm thoroughly impressed that he can design like complex war games, really interesting solo games, and a cooperative train game.
Logistics game. Yeah, that one's a good one. I do remember really enjoying that. All right, my number 6 is a crossover, my friend.
Already?
Hey,
it took us 8 games to get there.
What's the inverse of 6? There we go. Plus times 2.
Yes.
Okay, so it's micro macro. And I know we already talked about Where's Waldo, we already talked about all that, but I think that it's really fun that everything on this map takes place across time. And so you're sitting and you're following someone along their path of committing a crime or coming from a crime or about to have a crime committed to them. And you are just following them along. You're trying to figure out what's going on in this city. And so it's great cooperatively because everybody can kind of look at a different part of the map and everyone is seeing something from a different angle. And so, you could have a clue that says, hey, find, Elizabeth Bunny who, is about to die. Find her dead body. So you find her dead body, so, over here by the train station, and someone else is like, oh, we got to find her home. So we got to follow her back. And someone else is like, oh, I found her over here on this other side of the city. Like, she's over here. Maybe her home's, I'll follow her over here then, and you guys follow over there, and we'll see what happens. So it's fun to be able to work together because especially as the early games, you're kind of maintained in a small area, but as you play, a lot of the other scenarios, they expand across the whole map. People are climbing in subway cars, and they're popping up other places across the map, and so you need those eyes across everything.
There's going to be 4 of these, and they're supposed to all combine together into a mega map. And as awesome as that sounds, I don't have a spare wall in my house to like have them all splayed up, but I really want to try one of those mega cases.
Oh my goodness, I wouldn't be tall enough to see everything if we did have a spare wall.
We could look like
need a ladder.
We could look like that conspiracy theory meme guy,
right?
From Always Sunny in Philadelphia with all the yarn and the.
Yes.
I would love it.
This is great.
Also, Pegasus, please get the Batman license so you can make Micro Macro Gotham City. I would love it.
Ooh, that sounds so cool. Okay.
All right, number 5. I was surprised how many big games I have on my list, like cooperative.
Like Switch and Signal.
Well, I mean, like big and campaigny and stuff.
Okay.
Because I've been burnt out for a long time on campaigns, and for some reason I just feel so hyped up on them right now. So my number 5 is Adventure Tactics, Domian's Tower.
Okay, that was a fun one.
This is a really manageable campaign because you play through approximately 10 sessions of it. Very family weight, very approachable, has that look to it, right? But of course, also it's playable. Our daughter was 7 when we started and played it and everything, and now she's older. But this one would be fun to like go through again because it's a great boss battler. The bosses each behave differently from each other. There's some little branching with decisions and stuff that you can make, but my goodness, the upgrade system, the leveling up system is like one of the best parts in this game. You start off as an archer, you're level 1 archer. You finish 1 session, you get to level up. You don't have to like grind out 7 sessions to gain a level, to gain 2 more hit points and 1 maybe a special card ability. No, it's like, do you want to become a level 2 archer? Done. Here's some new cards, here's some new endurance and stuff.
Or do you want to become a wizard archer?
Because
you can.
Yeah. And then once you have like 2 levels of wizard and 1 level of archer and 1 level of fighter, then you can become, like a battle mage. You know what I mean? You can upgrade and you can cross-class into these like specialty classes, and it's so cool. Also, this is another game that has those dice that always hit, so they're like very predictable, but they have a range to them. So sometimes you're like, yes, I hit all 5s, but the lowest I could have hit was all 3s, but still hitting all 5s is exciting.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love so much about this game.
This was a lot of fun, and I do agree that I think what really makes this memorable is just the leveling up system. Is being able to become something unique. Oh, I'm going to become a necromancer. How do I do that? Like, I just keep studying all these different things until I figure out how to get where I'm at.
Yeah.
Where I want to be. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so excited to play through this again with our daughter now that she's even a little bit older, you know?
Yeah, that's way fun. All right, my number 5 is significantly lighter than that, and it is So Clover. This is
so close to putting this on too.
This is one that I almost didn't add as a cooperative game, and I was like, oh, that is cooperative, isn't it? A lot of word games are not, or if they are, it's like team versus team kind of thing.
Yeah.
So you're working together with your team, but it's not technically cooperative. But this one is. So everyone is making these little clovers, and you have to find a word that will connect the 2 words that are next to each other on each side of the clover. And so it's one of those that, like, you have to trust your team. It helps if you know your team a little bit, because sometimes you have to make some really difficult connections between these words. Or sometimes you just write a clue for one of the 2 words, and you just hope that a different side of the puzzle will help them figure out what the second word is on this thing. So I think it's fun. It's one of those like party games that I haven't been partied out of.
That's fair.
I haven't played too much. And I think it's because everyone gets to do the writing cleverness at the same time, and then you play the clovers, and then you're done.
And everybody gets a chance to be clever in this game.
Yes.
Everyone gets that chance to be like, yes, that was awesome. Whether it's when you're writing the clues or when you make a connection, like, wait a minute, I bet Phil put these 2 words together with this clue. It's weird enough that Phil would have done it. I love that.
Oh yeah. It's way fun. So Clover, that's my number 5.
Phil, stay weird. Stay weird. All right, number 4, another big campaign game. And I'm really shocked that there's this many of them on here. And there's other ones I almost put. This one's Vagrant Song, though.
Okay.
The ghost train mythology or folklorical tale is one of my favorite Americana things. Like, jazz music and the ghost train are like 2 of the best things that the United States has provided in terms of like cultural, that type of like cultural lore and stuff.
Does this like cross over with Westerns for you, or is it non-Western trains, or?
What do you mean, Western, like yeehaw?
Yeah.
Western stuff is fine, right? I was actually spending some time reading about the shootout at the OK Corral. Because I was like, I should know actually a little bit more about that. It is very interesting. But Western stuff is not my favorite, right? Cowboys and all that stuff. Ghost trains. That's what I'm all about.
Spooky trains.
So anyway, this is a boss battler, kind of like Adventure Tactics, kind of like, what's that one called? Deep Rock Galactic's more of like a kind of a dungeon crawl type of game. But like I like this in a cooperative setting. And this one has a very great bag pull system, where based on those things, what type of chip you pull out of a bag is going to run the enemies. It's going to affect what your turns are, what you can do. And I think that is a very clean system. It's not a clean rule book, but it is a rule book worth wrestling with and figuring out, because I think the game is so great. I think that the game has amazing artwork and leans into that thematicness so nicely. It's great setting. Theme starts coming through as the ghost train hits bumps and stuff in the road, and luggage starts falling off the top racks and starts hitting your people and the other people and creates obstacles, and like it's just so delicious. I love everything about this, to the point I'm buying my own copy because I want to play through it, and I can't do that with the Dice Tower library. I've sampled, I've tasted, but now I want to gorge myself.
Oh, but you don't have all the upgraded stuff that Tom has in his fancy library.
I'm also going to buy coin capsules. This is one I'm going to put a little money into. I like it that much.
Fun. It's interesting because this one didn't speak to me as much as Adventure Tactics, and I think
soloing it.
I think it's because you don't level up the same. Like, it was a boss battler, and I was like, the boss battler's fine. I enjoy it a little bit, but it just didn't sing to me. And also, spooky trains are meh to me.
Oh, no, I love it so much. And I'm curious now that I'll be able to dive into the campaign more. I want to see what the progression actually is.
Yeah, and that's fair. Playing like 1 or 2 scenarios of a campaign, the first couple sometimes don't grab you, but once you get into it, then you're into it.
And that's part of what makes the adventure tactics so great, is that after one session, you're like, oh, I already see where this is going.
I'm invested.
But yeah, no, Vagrant Song's worth it. And there's 2 expansions coming out that I'm super hype about. Let's continue before I get
before you get too
Vagrant
excited.
Songed out.
All right, my number 4 is CO2.
CO2. I was like, CO Legends? Like, what are you talking about? Oh.
CO2, carbon dioxide.
I
Chris.
knew this was even going to be on your list. Come on. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Of course it is. So this is one of the heaviest cooperative games I've ever played. It is massive. It is a lot of work. It is a lot of thinking and a lot of strategizing together. But it's beautiful. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to save the Earth from, it exploding with carbon dioxide and turning into a giant ball of flame, and everything dying and all of that. And the way you're doing it is by creating energy-efficient power plants. And that from the very beginning of the game, you know where you need power plants, like location-wise, you know what types of power plants you need, you know what types of international summits you need to have so that you can reach the certain technology so that you can make those power plants in the different countries. Like, you have all this stuff you need to do, and they tell you all of it from the get-go. Like, you know from the very beginning what your requirements are. There's a tiny bit of luck because you don't know how much carbon dioxide is going to come out every round, and you don't know what summit tiles are going to be revealed. But other than that, like from the get-go, you have all this information. So it's basically a deduction, not deduction, but induction.
Induction.
It's a puzzle. It was a
Conduction.
Environmental action. So it is just this giant puzzle that you're trying to figure out together. And so everyone has to specialize in different types of energy, but as you specialize in one type of energy and you build it, it helps you specialize in other types of energy. So you're moving up on all these tracks and you're like, oh, I want to do this and this. But I need this one over here. How do I get this track? It's so cool. It's so fun. And I love that puzzle from the start.
I think it's a great one. It's not close to being on my list. It's close-ish, I guess, right? But I also know that this is one of those that is very much a you game that I think there's a lot of other people who would hate this, but I really enjoy it. You know what I mean? Like, just the no luck, from the beginning. Like, okay, let's talk all together. None of us is individually smart enough to figure this all out, but we have all the information from the get-go.
Let's do this. Now, this is one I could see being an alpha player problem, because if you've got one person that's like, I grok this whole thing, I got it. I'm going to now delegate and be the manager, and everybody, this is what you have to do on your turns. That would annoy me. But I think we're at a similar level of figuring stuff out that I really enjoy playing it with you.
We're pretty smart. Yeah, it's kind of the way that Camilla and I think the other people describe Spirit Island as like, there's just so much going on that you have to worry about enough things individually that you can't alpha the whole game.
Yeah.
But maybe there's someone out there who's like a nuclear physicist who's way smarter on like a different plane of intelligence than us, who could be like, this is what everyone has to do. Let's go.
With that accent?
With that accent.
Specifically. Yeah, so that's my number 4, CO2. I like it.
My number 3, another campaign game.
Oh my goodness.
I know. Whew. But this is one that I've played a lot of over the last few years, and this is Arkham Horror, the Living Card Game.
This is one I've only played once with you.
Yeah.
So you've played a lot of it without me.
I did. It was really nice of Z and Camilla to let me jump into a campaign with them, because this game is a lot of investment. Mm-hmm. I tried to pick this up years and years ago, and I just couldn't get past the set up your starting deck and look for all these things and set up the bad guy villain deck, which is going to consist of these 5 different symbols. And I was trying to play someone else's copy, and it was just kind of a mess.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was like, no, I'm good. Sorry, thanks for letting me try it. But once, playing this with someone like Z who knew it so well, that's also a big commitment for him to be like, yeah, you can jump into the next 8 games of this with me. We've played this a lot, and then I played it also a lot solo. This is really good cooperatively because you can cover each other's weaknesses. If you play it solo, and I'm trying not to talk about solo too much because of the cooperative list, you kind of have to cover your own weaknesses, so you have to deck build, I think, a little bit smarter, and you have to try to kind of spread out your specializations. But in a cooperative setting, like playing this 2-player or 3-player, someone can be a tank and someone can be like the clue finder. And that's pretty good. And all of a sudden, like a third type of challenge comes up, and you're like, "Whoa,
wait.
Okay, the two of us are gonna have to like really figure this out, But like, I love that you can play this with different player counts. You can have different specializations, but it does add time. It really does. I think 2 is kind of a sweet spot. 3 is still great, and then solo is really fun and a different kind of challenge. But so much story. This harkens back to when we were getting into cooperative games playing Eldritch Horror. And Eldritch isn't on my list anymore, but this has even more theme, more story, and more clever card play decisions every single turn.
I think what I liked about this with my one play, so I'm an expert obviously at it, what I really enjoyed was that it was a more cohesive storyline than Eldritch. I really enjoyed Eldritch back in the day, and it was a great game for what I had at the time, but I remember always wishing that the cards all tied into each other and that the story fit together instead of just being like, hey, some random city event, hey, some random other event. And so this, everything's tied together. You're in a story. You're doing a thing together.
And that's part of why I love it so much,
Yeah, so, I can see that.
My number 3, Arkham Horror, the card game.
Alrighty. My number 3 is a big, heavy campaign game. I finally have one on my list.
Yay!
I'm so happy. It's Gloomhaven. So I put Jaws of the Lion down here. I liked them both. And I've played more of OG Gloomhaven, but Jaws of the Lion is way easier to set up. So that's why it's on here.
It gets the nod from me, for sure, for that reason alone.
Oh, yeah. So this is a campaign game where you're taking your interesting characters, you're going through these dungeons, doing the dungeon crawl kind of things, fighting bad guys, finding secret treasures, doing whatever you're supposed to be doing. Every game has a different goal and a different map. But you're working together to solve some bigger overarching story and to go on these cool quests and become cool things. So I enjoy the leveling up. It doesn't happen anywhere near as quick as Adventure Tactics, but it's fun. I like the way that your characters progress. But what is really great to me is the card play in this game. So you are always playing 2 cards and you have your deck based on your character, and you can change a little bit of it from game to game, but mostly it's the same. But you have to play 2 cards, and on both those cards you choose one top benefit for one card and a bottom benefit for the other card. And that means you're foregoing the opposite benefits on those cards. And it's such an interesting thing that you could be like, okay, if I play this top one, then I get to range attack. But that means I can't use it for healing later. And if I use this bottom one, I can jump and run really far, but I had this super strong attack at the top. So it's like it's this just decisions. It's such good decisions. And so the card play is really what makes this for me.
This is a good pick. It's not on my list. And I just been having a hard time feeling like I want to get Gloomhaven back to the table. Part of it being the last 3 games that I mentioned, of course, but like this is still great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would absolutely recommend, if anyone's curious about it, go pick up Jaws of the Lion. Phenomenal.
That's awesome.
All right. My number 2 is the teased limited communication game that I talked about earlier. This is The Crew.
Oh,
yeah. I love The Crew. This is a game, trick-taking, cooperative. You're trying to figure out how to complete the different objectives. Both versions just fine. And if you're going to pick one up, I guess I would still say pick up the first one. But
because it's a little more introductory.
It's a little more introductory, I think, right? I don't know. But the idea of trying to get certain cards won by different people is so nice. And then you hit a level that feels different by breaking up what the win condition is. And we've just played so much of this. Amazing 2-player variant. We played all 50 scenarios back in 2020 when we had a little bit of time on our hands. And this game got us through that year. Like it really did.
You can hop over to my slide next, because it's also The Crew.
Okay.
So this is one that I feel like every night I was down to play The Crew. Every night I was like, let's just play The Crew. I don't want to learn a new game. Let's just play The Crew. Crew's so much fun, but it's so good. It is a weird mix of when I didn't want to use my brain too much, then I decided to play a game that required a lot of brain power. I just feel like it required different brain power than learning a new game.
Yeah, no, I could agree with that.
And so I thoroughly enjoy it. I still love it. And I put the first game down as my pick just because I feel like as soon as the second game came out, I played a couple games that were just really hard because you randomize instead of going through this big long campaign. You just kind of randomize these cards. And I was like, I feel like I don't know if these games are winnable or not. But for some reason, if it was in the campaign book, I did. I knew it was for sure winnable, and we would just keep trying until we got it. And so I liked the original one a little bit better.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I'm undetermined which one I like more, but I do want to play some more of the second one because, yeah, we haven't as much. We really haven't.
We haven't.
We've played through all of the first one. What a great game. Mike Delisio, if you're unaware, talks about the whole trick-taking renaissance, and I feel like no renaissance happens immediately. There's not a single moment that kicks it off. But like, there's so many great trick-taking games, I think, because this game reinvigorated a lot of interest in that genre overall. And you can't have great trick-taking games coming out to no audience, right? Otherwise, they'll stop coming out. So I think that this is one of those fulcrum points that has really led to a lot of really great trick-taking games coming out since then.
It's so interesting because this is cooperative and you're trying to really read each other. You can have these conversations afterwards about analyzing how the trick-taking works, how the speaking and the communication. Because in a lot of trick-taking games, everything you do does communicate something.
Yeah, exactly.
And so they're competitive, but you're trying to figure out what am I communicating by playing this card at this time, and what am I reading from other people. And so this teaches that silent communication in such a digestible way.
Yeah.
And so it's beautiful. So I agree with that thought. Mike is a genius.
That was my thought.
Oh, they said Mike had that thought.
No, he keeps saying there's a trick-taking renaissance.
Oh.
Right? He keeps observing it, but I'm the Michelangelo of this situation.
Chris is a genius.
Thank you. All right, so that was, I guess, our number 2.
Okay, what's our number 1?
Okay.
Is this going to be the same?
Pandemic Legacy.
Oh, yours is Season 0?
So yours is a Pandemic Legacy? Okay, I'll go first really quick.
Okay.
All of them, right? This is kind of my fill-in for like all of the Pandemic series, right, and everything. But if I had to pick one that I think is kind of the grooviest and coolest of them all, I'm going Season 0, Legacy Season 0. Starting point, go do Pandemic Legacy Season 1. I think Season 2 is phenomenal and weird and different, but 0 is such a great, like, basic first game, and it lets you have some extra little things in there that aren't too hard, but that are fun deduction on top of the things are spreading different places, go take care of them, and, balance winning versus taking care of the immediate fires. Pandemic is like the quintessential cooperative game at this point. It is almost the benchmark across which every other cooperative game is measured, and the Legacies just improve on that by giving you more investment from one game to the next, and I think that Season 0 might be the best of them all. So, I don't know. It in my word, at least, it's the grooviest of the 3.
Is the grooviest? Because it's got the mop-up vans?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so you clearly did not put Season 0.
I did not put Season 0. I put Season 2.
Okay.
I really like Season 2. So Season 1 was great. It blew my mind. It was a whole new world, man. I feel like the Little Mermaid. But Season 2, I just really enjoyed putting the stickers down. I enjoyed the exploration out. Because 1 was a lot like basic Pandemic. It just had a cool story that went along with it. But 2, I felt like this is a different game. We are making supplies. We're dropping them off. We're trying to figure out what is going on in this post-apocalyptic world. Like, I really, really liked Season 2. And, when you talk about how Pandemic is like what everything else is, the benchmark that everything else, stands up to. I remember before I was into the hobby, I remember someone talking about this Pandemic game where you could become different specialists who are trying to defeat these pandemics that are going across the world and trying to, like, hurt people and diseases spreading and stuff. And I remember thinking, wow, that sounds so cool. And then we played Forbidden Island, which is by the same designer. And I was like, this is really awesome. And then I saw the regular Pandemic, and I was like, oh, this looks like complicated Forbidden Island. Like, it had a lot of the same tracks and a lot of the same deck manipulation and stuff. And I was like, okay, not quite as thematic, like, as feeling like, ooh, I've become a doctor, like I've
Sure.
become a disease specialist, I've become a helicopter pilot, whatever. But I really have still enjoyed them, and the legacy versions give me a little bit more of what I think that early gamer of me wanted or thought it was going to be, of like, hey, I have my person, and my person does a lot of things, and they do a lot of really cool things. So that's what I like about the legacy games in general.
That's a really good point. Also, could you sing me that Whole New World song from The Little Mermaid, please?
Let me share a whole new world with you.
That's
Yeah,
definitely not from The
something
Little
like
Mermaid.
You're right! I was like, why am I singing this for you, Chris?
I really love your point that the legacy versions of Pandemic feel like what you kind of, as someone hearing people talk about this amazing new game called Pandemic.
Yeah.
You know, what that dream of what it could be like is a reality. Because a dream is a wish your heart makes, says Tarzan. So
When you're fast asleep.
all right. So there you
What
go.
is that one from? Is that Sleeping Beauty?
Oh, I don't know Disney at all.
I think that's Sleeping Beauty.
I just know the Dixit game. That's about it. So anyway, that's our top 10 cooperative games. Do they lean a little bit new? I think they do. However, I think, like I said, there's been so much innovation in the cooperative game space that I really like these ones. Could it be different if I did this a month from now? Absolutely, it could be.
It could be. And I think innovation is the key, because like I'd mentioned with Forbidden Island and Pandemic seeming so similar of games, just a slightly more robust system, they really have changed so much from them, because that was what cooperative games were.
I agree. Jar Jar is the key to all of this.
He is.
George Lucas.
He's also the Sith.
All right. Well, anyway, thanks for coming by this list, and make sure to watch for the rest of this week. We're not actually filming this live, so this feels weird. We're just going to end now. I don't know what's going on the rest of this week.
Anywho, I'm Wendy Yi.
I'm Chris Yi.
Have fun playing games.